Dave Lazat here for another edition of Striper's Distant Replay. It's the video series where we invite members of last year's International League South Division Championship Club to watch key moments from memorable 2019 games. Today we'll talk pitching with two of the top members of the Stripers 2019 starting rotation, Kyle Wright, who led the International League with 11 wins, and Bryse Wilson, whose 3.42 ERA made him Gwinnett's first ever IL ERA champion. They'll be joined by pitching coach Mike Maroth, who guided the club to a league-best 4.29 ERA. In part two, we'll watch Wilson throw 6 scoreless innings in a 2-0 win on June 22nd versus Syracuse.
So Davis only a few years removed from hitting a game-tying home run in the 8th inning of Game 7 of the 2016 World Series for the Indians. So yet another veteran guy in their lineup. And as we talked about with Kyle's start, Bryse, you're facing one of the most veteran lineups in the International League.
Yeah, for me, going into it, there's a ton of recognizable names in the lineup. And I think for me, it was just kind of about settling down and just throwing my game, because if I remember correctly, I pitched against them in the outing before this one. And I think I went 6 innings and gave up 4 or 5 runs. And so really I just wanted to kind of get back to myself and, just throw my game. And that's what I really came back to and was able to do.
Yeah, entering this start, your numbers on the year with Gwinnett, 3-6 with a 4.11 ERA and 14 starts. You, like Kyle, have been up to Atlanta. You were on the opening day roster there, 2 stints with the Braves at this point. Where's your mind at this point in the season?
Really, I think I'm just trying to just continue to focus on, like Kyle said earlier, the consistency of everything. At this point I had a good idea of who I was as a pitcher at this part in the season. Changeup was good. At this point I was throwing more of a curveball than a slider. And, it was just about keeping those consistent, throwing them for strikes, and then also just keeping the mentality and the mindset consistent, throughout the ups and downs, between AAA and the big leagues, and just, keeping the same mentality throughout starts.
What both Kyle and Bryse had to go through last year was tough. There's nothing short of it. I mean, they both started on the opening day rosters with Atlanta, and shortly after found themselves down in AAA. So they started the year where they wanted to, and shortly after that, all of a sudden, they find themselves back in AAA. Not only that, they bounced up and down a few times. Went up to Atlanta and not knowing if they were going to pitch. And then come back down, and then all of a sudden they just couldn't get into a consistent routine throughout the entire year. So that's difficult. So to be able to overcome that and look at the things that they accomplished last year, both of them, is definitely a huge positive and a plus for both of them. I think they're going to learn so much from last year going forward that they don't even really know. Just everything they had to endure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, Mike, just kind of going off that point, I feel like just when I got called back up in September, I feel like I had already learned a lot and gained a lot of knowledge that I was able to put into, the couple outings that I got. But I still just, in those couple, I felt much better about where I was.
So this is a little early jam here for you, Bryse. You get a guy on third with 1 out. Your mentality has to be looking for the strikeout here, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. Early in the game, especially now that I'm up 0-2, I'm, going for a strikeout for sure. Guy on third, and, get one there. Jackson, that's a pretty nice frame job. Don't really know if that was over the plate or not, but we'll take it. But yeah, no, definitely going for a strikeout there, trying to get out of the inning and start the game out on the right page. So
Those white cleats look nice too.
I appreciate that. I went back and watched the video earlier, and I was like, thank goodness I wore the white cleats. I actually looked pretty decent. Goodness, early in the games, those pinstripes were warm.
Well, yeah, a little hot.
A little hot.
And I'm sure this day it looks like a pretty sunny, warm day.
Yeah.
Late June in Atlanta. So I'm sure it was up there in temperature.
So we'll move on to the third inning. You're able to leave that runner stranded at third base, keep it a scoreless ball game. We are still scoreless going into the third. Rajay Davis, who we already talked about, he'll lead off this inning. You'll face the same part of the order here.
Gotta love those first pitch outs. They're good for the pitch count, and then especially when it's their second time through the lineup, I feel like sometimes they're trying to jump on stuff that they saw their last at bat, and he saw a lot of fastballs up, and that's what he got first pitch, and he tried to jump on it. Just luckily it was hit right at Lamar.
Well, and as you mentioned too, the last start you had before this was against the same club on the road at Syracuse. Who does that familiarity really benefit? Do you think that helps you out as a pitcher, kind of knowing how to attack their lineup, having just faced them, or is it better for their guys because they've taken some swings and seen what you have recently?
I think personally that depends on if you're asking a pitcher or a hitter. I think for me it helps me more because I know how to attack them. But I'm sure they would probably say the same thing, in that they know kind of what you're going to throw them. But I think for me, like, it really helps me to really, especially 2 outings back to back, like, find their weaknesses. Even in the outing before this one where it wasn't that good, I was still able to find some of each hitter's like weaknesses and what they struggle with. And I feel like I was able to attack those this game, especially because my fastball was as good as it was and I was commanding it really well. So,
and I would say for Bryce, even though it helps him, it's not easy to face the same team back to back and throw as well as he did. So I think for anyone that were to think this is just another game, though, this was a really impressive game because literally this was back to back starts against the same team. So for him to do what he did against them this time was honestly very impressive.
I appreciate that, Kyle.
You got
I would
it.
agree.
Anytime, brother.
So in the first video we watched for Kyle, I know you were talking a lot about how important the two-seamer was for you. Bryce, what do you feel like was really the important pitch? Like if you had, what specific pitch working did you know was going to be a good night for you?
I think for me, really, I'm a big fastball pitcher. And, I think like in the first inning, if I can really establish that fastball and get it, working well and where it's, mid 90s, then I think it's going to be a good day, especially if I'm commanding it well in the first inning. But I think for me at this point of the season, throughout this start and the next few starts, the most important pitch for me was the curveball because I got to a point where I could throw it 4 strike and 4 strikeout, and that just really really benefited my fastball even that much more. Like the curveball in this game, I think I maybe got 1 strikeout off of it, but for the most part, I used it early in the count to get ahead once I get later into the game. And that was really big because then I was able to use my fastball late in counts.
I remember you stealing a lot of strikes about this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold
It
that
really
thought
set
about
up the
curveball.
fastball too. It really ended up setting up the fastball because you look at these swings, a lot of late swings on these.
Yeah.
On these hitters, they're not catching up with the fastball.
Yeah, because as I rewatched this game before this, my changeup wasn't really effective at all during this game. I think I maybe threw like 2 or 3 of them. And it was just one of those days where really I didn't need to throw it because, it wasn't working that well, but, my fastball and curveball were so effective that I just stuck with that.
So we are going to move ahead of the 5th inning. It is still a scoreless game, and seems like we're coming up to the same part of that top of the order every time here. So we'll see Rajay Davis bat for the 3rd time already, but you've had some success against him early in the ball game. And I think you're at 4 strikeouts right now for the contest.
Yeah, and I think at this point in the game, more than anything, I think I started to use that curveball more early in counts. Almost start pitching backwards to a certain extent. And that was really effective to just throw them off and keep them off balance and not know what's coming. 'Cause I think, if I just watched that correctly, that was 3 curveballs in a row. And
Yeah.
I'm up 1-2, so
Looked like he might have missed the second pitch too.
yeah. That was a tough one.
There's the curveball setting up that fastball up, but they can't catch up to it.
It looks like he chokes him halfway up the bat, so he's able to just foul it off. Then the whole heater just right down the middle, freezing every time.
Get them sights way up.
So I think this is about as good a time as any to talk about your catcher in this game, Alex Jackson. We just had Alex on for a video where we talked pretty much all hitting, his 28 home run season and all of that. But as a catcher, what he does for you behind the plate, can you talk about that and your comfort level working with him?
Yeah, no, I love throwing to Jax. I think personally, he's an incredible receiver. He's kind of sort of adopted a little bit of what Tyler Flowers does receiving wise, and he's really, really good at it. And so he steals us a lot of strikes, and I love that, like, he's such like a big body back there. You know, I just like the fact that, you know, he covers like the strike zone and everything, and I think that helps him get a lot more pitches too, like stealing strikes. And then I know early in the season we had a little back and forth about like how I wanted to like pitch my games or whatever, but once we got on the same page, we kind of like hit a roll, and you know, I love throwing to him, and you know, we were on the same page, you know, as far as what pitches to call. I think I'd maybe shake once or twice a game. But yeah, no, I love throwing to him, and barely ever do you give up a stolen base because he's got such an incredible arm back there. So that's really nice to have there with the confidence there too. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Bryce. I feel like whenever I threw to Jackson, there's a runner on first. I feel like obviously I tried to control him, but I didn't have to worry quite as much about him because I knew that if he ran, we're going to have as good a chance of any to throw him out whenever Jax was back there.
And I want to say, if he hasn't already, sometime soon he throws somebody out.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Okay. And that's just such a relief as a pitcher. You know,
Yeah.
You got a guy on first, especially with less than 2 outs. And, you know, your catcher's able to, you know, take that runner off the bases for you. That's nice.
Yeah.
Mike, from a coaching standpoint, talking a little bit more about Jackson, you know, he's a guy who a couple of years ago when he was in Seattle's system, they had him as an outfielder, comes over to the Braves system, gets converted back to catcher. How advanced does he look to you for a guy who just a couple of years ago was playing corner outfield?
Oh, yeah, he's only been catching for a few years. And you wouldn't really know that by watching him catch, you know, and his technique and everything. I know that he puts in a lot of time and effort into how he receives, and it's paid off because he definitely does a great job with the pitchers as far as getting them pitches that are close, and he takes a lot of pride in that. And so for him to be able to put that much time in, especially a guy, you know, that hits the amount of home runs and definitely has an offensive side to him, to be able to focus and put that much time and effort into his ability to catch is very important. And I think it's paid off for him too in the few years that he's been catching.
So you got a good battle going here with Danny Espinoza, guy who's played in the big leagues for the Nationals amongst 4 other teams. So yet another one of these veteran hitters of the Syracuse lineup.
Yeah, and I feel like he's kind of sort of aware. Like, that's kind of where I was trying to go with the last couple pitches. It's kind of like that up and down little spot right there. And he was just, I didn't really hit the spot, and he was able to foul it off. But, yeah, and I think he kind of got an idea based off the previous 2 at-bats of what I was trying to attack him with, and he was able to fight it off. And then I finally executed the pitch I wanted to execute, and it worked out for me. So
one of those early curveballs for a strike, stealing that strike.
especially with this guy, because I feel like, watching him, I think we had two series against him, right near each other, and then me throwing against him twice in a row. If he sees spin, or most of the time he's taking first pitch anyways, but definitely if he sees spin. So it's really nice to be able to steal that first pitch strike.
With a veteran lineup like this, of this caliber, it's so important for a pitcher not to fall into patterns, especially back-to-back outings. So both Kyle and Bryce did a good job with the veteran lineup of not falling into any patterns, giving them different sequences, just to keep them on their toes.
Yeah, and I think the catcher definitely plays a role in that as well, whether it's Jax or Johnny Moe, and just talking about that in between innings, about how you want to attack the next hitters in the lineup. And so yeah, I think they play a pretty big role in that as well. Just establishing when to switch it up.
So you're a little frustrated there. Clearly you were up 0-2, and eventually he draws the walk. That's Dilson Herrera. What is your thought, I guess, when you're up 0-2 and you lose a guy like that?
God, that's the most frustrating thing in the world. Because you're 0-2, the ball's in your court, and then, throughout that at bat, the 0-2 pitch, curveball in the dirt, I wanted to throw that there. Then the next pitch, the fastball up, is a good at bat for him, because, those 2 pitches were, executed to the extent that I wanted them to be. And, but yeah, no, losing that guy like that, and then especially at this part in the game, probably, 1 out, I'm pitching really well, 3-2 count, maybe not should have gone with the 3-2 breaking ball, but, if I executed, it's a good pitch. And then that's where Jack's, that's nice. That always makes me feel better when I have a guy 0-2 walking and then Jack just throws him out. That's nice.
Like it never happened.
Yeah.
So that play keeps this game scoreless, and it is still scoreless as we go into the 6th inning. So as a scoreless game stretches on, as it gets later into a ball game, does that put more pressure on you, or is that not something you're thinking about as a starter?
I think for me, if I'm pitching well, I'm not really, obviously, you're aware of the score at all times, but I think if I'm pitching well, I'm just worried about continuing to go out and put up zeros and help the team stay in the game. And, give the team a chance to take the lead in whichever inning, it comes down to. And I think for me, it's not really a pressure thing. It's just, continue to do what I've been doing the whole game.
Kind of an athletic play right there.
Yeah, look at that athleticism right there.
In the video, it didn't look like I was that high off the ground, but I'm telling you, I felt like I was in the air for a good minute.
So here's Rene Rivera with a runner at first and nobody out. You guys talked about him earlier. I think you were talking about fastball away was kind of what he was looking for.
Yeah, and I believe in this game he hit 2 balls to the warning track when the basketball's away. I don't know why I kept throwing them, but and gotta love. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, fastball up, ground ball double play. Those are great.
Yeah, fastball up because it's on the ground. How about that? That's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, he hit it well.
Right, what you wanted though.
Yep. Perfect.
You wanted to hit it hard there.
I think really as long as he hits a ground ball, it's no play. I love Renee, but
Yeah.
he's not the fastest baseball player.
Yeah.
Person.
True.
So this is Luis Guillorme. This will be the final hitter you face for the game.
I was looking at the box score of this game, and I saw I only threw 86 pitches. But then I also saw who came in after me, and Newcomb came in, and then Parsons. So I was a little bit okay. I was okay with that, being taken out at 86 pitches. I'm like, I like to get my 100 on.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I know you do. But
Finished it with a punchy though, so.
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into when to take a starting pitcher out, especially in the minor league. Whether it's pitch count or confidence. Just the situation in the game. If there's guys that need to pitch. So there's a lot of different factors that go into when the right time is. Yeah.
And I think, there's a stretch of the season, and this could very well be it, where, all of our starters were throwing really well. So we were all going late games, and guys just needed innings. So.
Yeah, I think I remember that too. It's nice when you have that problem.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, Bryce, that was your 86th and final pitch of the ball game, 97-mile-an-hour fastball. So certainly not removed because of lack of velocity at that point.
Yeah, no, I think, throughout the season, for me, I don't know why it works this way. I wish I could just come to spring training throwing that hard. But, halfway through the season, my fastball hits another gear, and I'm able to carry it throughout the game, which is nice. And, use it effectively late in the game. And Kyle's the same way. He carries his feeler really well, and I think that helps us both for sure.
So recapping this ball game, Stripers end up taking a 1-0 lead. Andres Blanco, a solo homer in the 6th inning. Like Mike mentioned, Sean Newcomb comes in after. Stripers go on to win this game 2-0. Bryce, your final line, 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. And much the same story as when we talked about with Kyle. This is the game that really will propel a strong finish.
I think a lot of what helped me as well was just being able to compete with guys like Kyle and Tukey and those guys, and Ian and Tucker came up there, and just being able to me and Kyle were down the stretch. We were fighting for pretty much every stat leading between the two of us. Every stat within the league, and I think that was really fun for me, and it kind of just pushed me to get to throw better, and but at the same time it's that fun competition.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too, Bryce.
You guys got time for a few more questions here?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So let's look ahead. You guys both played, an abbreviated spring training this year. Hopefully you're getting back on the field soon. But Kyle, to lead things off for you, the spring training that you put together for Atlanta, a 2.03 ERA in 13 1/3 innings. Do you feel like it's the success from last year carrying over? And what was your confidence level like before the shutdown happened?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like it was kind of the things that I took from last year and I was able to bring into this year. And, really it was just kind of simple what I was doing. That was just attacking the strike zone. And, I worked a lot on my mechanics to be consistent with them to where I wouldn't have to think about them. And I feel like I was able to do that very well. And in turn, I was able to execute pitches a lot better with a lot more ease.
Bryce, same thing for you. Spring training this year, the 2 starts you made for Atlanta, you had a 3.86 ERA. How good were you feeling about your spring, and what was your outlook heading into this season?
I was feeling good in spring. I think I was still working on my breaking ball at that point. The curveball, really just wasn't the breaking pitch that I wanted, and I kind of had to sit down and really establish and decide within myself what kind of pitcher I wanted to be. And so I was really going back and forth with the breaking ball there. But my changeup felt great. I was getting a lot of swing and misses, commanding it well. Fastball was good. And I think for me, this, obviously I would much rather be playing, but this time has really benefited me a lot as far as, I've gotten in better shape, and, I've figured out, that slider, and it's been good for me. Like at this point, I can't wait to get back because I just feel great, and, I feel like I'm throwing some of the best I've thrown bullpen wise. What you can take from that.
Bryce, it's pretty amazing. It's only been 4 seasons since you were drafted by the Braves, and already you've been able to get to the big leagues and pitch in 9 games for the Braves. What is it for you? What's the key for you to get back to the big leagues and ultimately stay there?
I think for me, it's confidence. If you look and just confidence, and then just being able to pitch the game I want to pitch. In AAA, I'll pitch away, and then I'll go to the big leagues, and for some reason within my head, I'll think I need to change it. And I think for me, it's just getting over that step a little bit. And, I feel like I'm right there at it. This spring was going good for me. And then, we got shut down, but I was feeling good about it. And, I'm just ready to get back out there. And I think for me, it's just that mindset, going out there and just truly accepting and understanding that I belong there.
Mike, we'll close things up with you. Working with both of these guys last season and watching them grow and mature and deal with adversity and close the seasons as dominant as they did, what do you see as their future potential in the big leagues?
These are 2 really good pitchers, and they got a long career ahead of them in the big leagues. They just need to trust the process. It's a learning process, just like you heard both of them talking about. Even when they get to the big leagues, they'll continue to learn. And that's the beauty of the game, is each year that you play, you can look back and just be like, man, I grew so much as a pitcher. And so they both have incredible years ahead of them. And it's been fun working with them, and I've enjoyed it. And I love watching them pitch. I get excited when these guys take the mound, whether it's, in Gwinnett or in Atlanta, it doesn't matter where. When I get to see these guys on the mound, it's always fun to watch.
Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out today to watch 2 starts from last year and really take us into your mindsets on the mound. I know I learned a lot about pitching today. It was great to hear from all 3 of you about that and the seasons that really all 3 of you guys had. Pivotal for the Gwinnett Stripers to go on and win the IL South Division last year. So once again, thanks to Kyle Wright, Bryce Wilson, Mike Maroth as well. Stay safe, and hopefully we see you guys on a baseball field here soon.
Absolutely. Good seeing you guys.